Da 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 na 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 na. Lord of the Rings. When I say that, what comes to mind? Hopefully not those Hobbit movies, because, gosh, way to beat a dead horse.
Actually, when you say that, I think of my precious,
my precious. Yeah. So, okay. So, Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critic. We've seen a few of his videos before. We did the top 11 good moments from the Star Wars prequels, which caused us to about murder the TV screen.
He had some good points, though. I will give him that. Yeah.
I will give him credit for that. So we decided to revisit Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critic, by going to his top 11 dumbest Lord of the Rings moments. So, what's your opinion on Lord of the Rings?
I absolutely love Lord of the Rings.
The books and the movies?
Books and the movies. I actually was reading the books. I got started on stuff like that at a very young age. My aunt actually really got me into.
There you go.
She actually gave me a really old copy of her Lord of the Rings.
Wow. Is it the whole thing or is it separated out?
No, it's in separate books.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I didn't know if they had the whole...
and she also had it started out when I was younger with Chronicles of Narnia, and she had an original. She had the original British publication where it was in published order, not like the new order where they always put Magician's Nephew first.
Ah, okay. All right. So it was
the original published order, and it was actually the British version, because there are slight differences in the British version. The chief of the secret police, the wolf, is called Fenris Ulf.
Fenris, that's the reference to the Old Norse god.
The American version he's Fenris Ulf, and in the British version he's Maugrim. Okay. And I have no idea why they changed that. So just little things like that are really cool. So
yeah.
I was reading the books and subsequently finished them before the first movie came out. So I was completely ecstatic when I heard that they were making these movies, and that was back.
What do you think of the exclusion of Tom Bombadil?
Well, of course, I'm a fan, so I'm upset about it because it was weird. He wasn't really. I mean, I understand why they let him out, because he wasn't integral to advancing the plot, but it was interesting for anyone who fell in love with the actual world that he had built. And I mean, there are other writings that sort of flesh out the world. But in that, though, there was an important. Well, never mind. Let's just watch the video, because this is going to get out of control.
I was going to say, read the similar.
I might be a fanatic.
Okay, so here we go.
And you have to say that this is a guy that really has fun with what he does.
Of course, dude. Doug Walker, I've been a fan of his ever since, I think, 2008 was the first time I saw one of his videos, and I've loved watching what he has to say ever since.
I'm a Nostalgia Critic guy, remembered, so you don't have to. Knock, knock, who's there? Lord of the Rings is awesome! After winning critical praise, box office praise, tons of awards, changing the way many blockbusters are made, and being one of the best-known film trilogies of all time, who the hell is gonna argue with that? Lord of the Rings went from being the story that could never be filmed to the best-known film fantasy of all time.
Yeah, I was...
But that doesn't mean it doesn't have some dumbass
I was really pleased with the job they did.
I mean, with 558 minutes of film, of course there's gonna be problems here and there. And when you have a film series that needs to bring in a big crowd, you need to take big risks. Some of them pay off, some not so much.
Yeah.
And hey, it's still good to look over the weaker aspects of a film, because truly, no film is without flaws. And it's fun to review the mistakes and creative choices that maybe in the future could be tinkered with more. Especially seeing how technically these films are still being made. And while on the subject, I'm not gonna put the Hobbit films in there, seeing how they're still in the process of being put out. And I'm also not going to draw too many differences from the books. It's an adaptation, things have to be changed, I get that. I'm only judging these goofy choices in the realm of the films themselves. So, let's look over one of cinema's greatest accomplishments by acknowledging its top 11 greatest downfalls.
Well,
why top 11?
Stupid fact, Harold.
This is the top 11 dumbest Lord of the Rings moments.
Well, I'll say this. In order to appreciate something, you have to be willing to look at the not so well polished moments.
Sure.
I mean, and it makes you appreciate the other moments that are so well polished.
Number 11.
I mean, it's...
Just letting Gandalf die. Yeah, kinda shocked nobody ever talks about this one. In the book, as well as in the animated movie, when Gandalf is facing the Balrog uses the whip to drag him down with him, causing Gandalf to shout, "Fly, you fools!" as he plunges to his death. Fly, fools! But in Fellowship, he hangs onto the cliff, most likely trying to make the line more dramatic.
Fly, you fools!
But the question is, if he's hanging onto the cliff, why is everyone just looking at him? Nobody thinks to run over and actually pull him up. Go! Save him! He's right there! You still got time, you little idiots! No, I take it back. Frodo does. It's one of the few times he actually tries to take action. But what do? They hold him back. Why? There's no reason to. I suppose if you wanted to go out on a stretch, you could make the assumption that maybe the orcs are firing at them. But hell, if you're just going to stand there and look at him anyway, the very least you could do is be a moving target by walking forward and picking him up. But, Boromir is like,
No, he's gone.
Bullshit I am, I'm right here!
He's never coming
I
back.
haven't even left yet.
We must move on without
I
him.
can hear every word you're saying.
Remember, he told us to fly.
Yes, fly forward and grab me, please.
He will live forever in our
I'd
hearts.
much rather live the real way.
Our friend is gone.
Oh, fuck this noise. Tell Bilbo I never liked him!
it still makes no sense whatsoever. The only justification I can have for this is that, well, it did give us a cool intro to Two Towers.
Much agreed, yes.
Well, he obviously let go
I mean,
on
come on,
purpose because
that
he knew he
opening
still
was
got to
awesome.
fight the thing.
Yeah.
Even if they did land in a giant lake and somehow ended up on top of a mountain. In fact, why were they concerned for him if he could survive a fall into a lake and yet still have the strength to walk up to the top of a mountain? I've nitpicked this enough.
Fly, you fools!
Somebody needs to read the book.
Number 10. Those bajillion endings.
Yeah,
you all knew
that-
this was coming.
yeah.
On the one hand, you can't blame these people for having an ending that goes on forever. I mean, it's wrapping up 3 very big, very long movies. Lots of characters and stories need closure.
Lots of different plot
But that's not
lines.
what I necessarily take issue with. What I take issue with is the fake outs.
Yeah.
Every other second,
Yeah,
it
there's a
looks like
fade
the
out.
credits are about to roll. Instead, they keep the plots coming. At first, it looks like it's going to end with Sam and Frodo together on the volcano, but then it keeps
Nope.
going. Then it looks like it's going to end with them reuniting, but then
Nope.
it keeps going. Then it looks like it's going to end with them in Minas
Nope.
Tirith, but then it keeps going. And
Nope.
there's still 5 more endings on top of it.
Yep.
There's so many goddamn fade outs in this film, you could confuse it for the ending of Clue.
Here at the end of all things.
If he did, I think I remember what happens. But how about this? But here's what really happened.
How do you pick up the threads of an old life?
It doesn't help either that ending 1.2 looks a whole lot like a curtain call. Ladies and gentlemen, your Lord of the Rings players! Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan as Merry and Pippin. John Rhys Davies as Gimli. Orlando Bloom as Legolas. Viggo Mortensen as Aragorn. Rudy as Sam. Big Scary Eyes as Frodo. And Sir Ian McKellen as the always enduring, always heartwarming Gandalf. That is fucking terrifying. Please don't show that again. By Jesus, that's gonna haunt my nightmares. Stop that. Now, for a lot of people, these several endings are a big complaint, but I'd put it pretty low on the list because, honestly, I actually do like the endings. I mean, yeah, there's too many and they fake you out too many times, but the actual endings themselves are very poignant and kind of touching. So on the whole, I can't be that angry at them. Maybe just a little angry, and a little terrified.
That's kind of freaky.
Yeah, those big gangly teeth of Doug Walker.
Number 9.
Jeez. Ugh. I say he sneezes, he doesn't sneeze, he bites his lip.
Gimli's idiot moments. So again, when making an
I'll go with
adaptation
that.
as big as Lord of the Rings, you can't go into quite as much detail as the books can. So a good chunk of the time, characters have to be simplified. Understandable enough. But good God, what did you do to Gimli?
Ah, yes, the dwarves that go swimming with little hairy women.
At first, he started off okay. He was simple and emotional,
Yeah.
but still had a sense of honor and dignity.
Let them come. There is one dwarf yet in Moria who still draws breath.
But as the movies went on, he just got goofier.
Comedic relief.
And goofier.
What do trees have to talk about except the consistency of squirrel droppings?
And goofier. He went from being his own unique flavor of badass to just silly comic relief.
You could have picked a better spot. I cannot jump the distance, you'll have to trust me. Knock them in!
Even he seemed to realize that his whole race merely existed to get a chuckle out of the real heroes.
It's true you don't see many dwarf women. And in fact, they're often mistaken for dwarf men. And this in turn has given rise to the belief that there are no dwarf women, and that dwarfs just spring out of holes in the ground.
Don't believe me? Just watch this scene and tell me if the punchline music doesn't write itself.
Oh well.
It's ironic that we would have to wait for a prequel to
Yeah,
actually get a
Thorin's a
dignified dwarf
badass-
character.
a badass
but until
leader.
that time, we only
He's a
had
badass
Gimli as
dwarf.
the dignified representation of the dwarf. Oh.
Salted pork.
Thank God he had his badass moments in there too, because if not, I think this would be Middle-earth's interpretation of dwarf blackface.
It's a little tight across the chest. Salted pork.
Jeez.
Yeah, some of his goofy moments were a little too
Number
much.
8.
Yeah. I can understand being a comedic relief, but it's...
Legolas's perfect moments.
Yeah, these
If
were
one
just.
character can be too flawed, then another can
Ugh.
be too perfect. Again, Legolas started out as a very precise, somewhat advanced hero in the first movie. But as the films went on, you
Yeah, that
start
just got
to wonder
stupid.
why he
Yeah.
couldn't just fight this war himself. Look at this son of a bitch. While everyone's doing their best to fight off soldiers on ground, yeah, Aragorn's like, hey Legolas, would you mind bringing down a 5-story elephant?
Yeah.
Come on, you can do that in your pointy-eared sleep. But the bizarre thing is, he can! Without even batting an eye! Is there even a bead of sweat on his forehead? I'm the motherfucking T-Rex! Why is it there was even still a struggle at Helm's Deep? At first it looks like all the humans are gonna have to fight, but then, look, they suddenly get an army of giant dinosaur elephant killers. This battle should be over in 10 minutes.
Hey!
We haven't seen them earlier. Their fighting
met
skills
him.
seem
Yes,
too good to
Craig
be true.
Barker! Yes!
Haha, we knew they would come at us in descending order from left to right, resulting in this cool-ass shot. Everything is coming up. Oh.
But even with all these badasses on their side at Helm's Deep, even then Legolas has to show off by going shield surfing.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was
Yeah.
essential to
I-
taking out those 5 guys
I
who could
absolutely
have
hated
just as
those
easily
moments.
killed walking down the stairs.
His perfect moment where he was...
Oh my god, that was awesome! Oh my god, that was awesome!
I'm surprised Legolas didn't just end this whole war in one foul swoop. He's so freaking perfect, I'm sure he could do it.
Legolas, a great evil is forming in Mordor.
Fear not, my flawed mortal friend. I shall handle this.
The ring.
Like a motherfucking ball.
Legolas, you're too good to be true. And
It's
that
true.
is precisely the problem.
That still only counts as one.
Number
Oh
7.
boy.
those close-up shots.
Yeah,
I mentioned
the
this
first film
before,
had
how a lot
those
of movies
really
and shows
bad.
back then felt they needed to get a lot of wide-angle close-up shots. This would be fine if the idea was to create an uncomfortable scenario, but for a while, it seems like a lot of directors did it just to be different and artsy. And here, it's no exception. While this decision did tone down big time in the other two movies, and thank God for that, we had to put up with quite a lot of it in Fellowship of the Ring. And don't get me wrong, sometimes it's called for. Like this scene where Frodo's about to put the ring on at the prince.
that was really well done.
Yeah,
by the way,
it made you so uncomfortable.
Yeah,
for a
discomfort.
place like
That's
this.
what it's supposed to
I look at the
cause,
atmosphere and I feel
because
more
it's a violation of
the
personal
decaying
space.
mule. But like I said, here it's supposed to be a little off and uncomfortable, so the close-ups work. But come on, when Bilbo is just talking normally, do we really need to be this close?
No.
Even when Gandalf is saying goodbye, look at that! You can count the wrinkles under his eyeballs! How would you like it if I filmed conversations like this?
Okay,
Hey, Malcolm,
he wasn't
did you
just saying
hear they might
goodbye
be
though.
getting
He
a new
was
judge
like,
for American Idol?
keep it secret.
Yeah, I heard
keep
they
it
might
safe.
be
He was
getting a new
being
host,
really
too.
weird
really?
about
Well,
it.
of course.
You mean they're getting rid of what's his name?
That
Yeah,
one's
where's that
merited.
guy's
Yeah,
name?
he was being really strange.
Is it Seacrest? Is he safe?
I know we're supposed to feel close to the characters, but good God, we don't
Take a
need to
step
be
back.
this close.
Is it secret? Is it safe?
Yeah, the first film had a
Number
lot
6.
of that in it. I noticed that on it.
Denethor.
Oh yeah.
Just Denethor. If there's any character I think was more over-the-top simplified in these movies, it's this one. And I know a lot of you may disagree, but I got some serious issues with this guy. Everyone describes him as a Shakespearean villain, being very complex and very sympathetic. Well, I'm glad you guys saw that, but for me, I just saw a crazy asshole.
I
The
never
whole time he
I
seems
never
to
really
have
got
just
that he was supposed to be
two settings,
sympathetic. He was
extreme
just
jerk or
straight up
extreme
insane.
nutball. Yeah, when he's not frowning or slobbering or shaking his
That
head
was really
screaming,
weird
that
scene.
leaves
It
very
was like-
little room to
Well, of
actually
course,
feel sorry
it's
for.
a
Which I'm
it's a
told is
reflection
the
of
intention they were
bourgeoisie
going
and
for.
the sending the men off to fight. And plus with Mary singing,
Mine!
or Pip, it was Pippin. With Pippin singing, that was.
It looks like there was supposed to be a
was
real
beautiful
tragic
shot,
element to
beautiful
him.
scene.
Like, he used to be a dignified steward and has gone mad with power. But there's just so little dignity you can see in this guy. And I know the idea is that he's supposed to have lost all his honor, but you're supposed to give some idea that there was some honor there to begin with. And you don't really get that. The only time the guy actually had sympathy from me was when he found out about Boromir's death, and, oddly enough, when Pippin is offering his services.
Until my lord release me, or death.
And I shall not forget it, nor fail to reward that which is given.
He does actually seem thankful and somewhat kind in this brief moment.
A redeeming
And I'm
quality.
not saying we need a ton of that, but we just need more than what we got. But no, we need obvious symbolism to show that the decision makers in their ivory towers don't understand the fragility of life.
Mist and shadow.
Yeah, that scene is so beautifully shot.
Cloud and shade. Oh, shall.
And I think, yeah, this would have had more impact if he would have had a redeeming quality, and this was like the straw that broke the camel's back that made you that showed you just how out of touch he was.
Come on, if I wanted slurping disgustingness, I'd go watch more of Gimli. Even his death seems over the top goofy. Just when they're about to give him something close to a remorseful moment, what do they do?
Yep.
What? This isn't Lord of the Rings, it's a fucking Itchy and Scratchy cartoon. All I gotta say is, if you were looking to create a sorrowful Shakespearean villain, my guess is you need a little bit more dignity than this. We'll be back in a bit. Until then, let the emotional weight of this scene sink in.
Hey, I can see them filming Hobbit Part 12 from here!
You see how he used to do it is he added like commercial breaks here in between, but where you started posting videos on YouTube, the commercial breaks were no longer required.
Gotcha.
Fat men can burn. Fat men can burn.
Can this guy shorten his transitions? We get it. It's number 5. Like,
I'm not dead!
There's a saying that nobody ever really dies in TV. That there's always a way to bring a popular character back. Well, the same definitely can be said for Lord of the Rings movies. First they think Gandalf is dead. Hallelujah. Then they think Merry and Pippin are dead. Hallelujah. Then they think Aragorn is dead. Hallelujah. Then they think Frodo is dead. Hallelujah. Good God, I thought the ending
the
had too many
Aragorn thing,
fake
that was
outs.
completely
This is
added
like
in.
a
That
new
wasn't in the
world
books, and
record.
that always
Hell,
never
they probably
set
cut this Mouth
never
of
set well with
Sauron
me.
scene from Return of the King because it was twice that they did a Frodo death fake out.
Yeah, the Mouth of Sauron.
That was cool though, because that was actually in the books.
Yeah, I know, but they cut it out in the theatrical version.
We've done this already.
The whole spider killing him thing.
It didn't fool us then, it isn't fooling us now.
Honestly, we just want you to open your gates for a moment. Legolas!
That still only counts as one.
In fact, I think the only reason Boromir never came back is because Sean Bean has it in his contract that he has to die in every single role that he's in and stay dead. But everyone else? Death is just a roadblock to pass. It's like they build up that no matter what, these characters are fucking invincible. Look at this. How many times do they throw themselves into an army of killers and never even come out with a scratch on them? The funniest is probably this one with Aragorn and Gimli. That is fucking ridiculous. This long line of killer monsters all being taken down by 2 men. One of them half the size of the rest of them. Even in the final climax, they know they have nothing to fear. Listen to how they talk.
Certainty of death, small chance of success.
What are we waiting for?
We've done this a million times. Even if we die, we're bound to bounce right back. Hell, we have an entire army of dead people. It's like having a cold. You're out of commission for a bit, but you come back swinging.
Nothing like walking through the valley of the shadow of death when that valley is just the size of a thimble. That is fucking ridiculous.
Okay.
Number 4.
Arwen's life is now tied to the fate of the ring.
That did bother me because
Now, there's no doubt
that wasn't in the
Arwen's
books at
role
all, and
has
I
been
didn't
expanded
understand
in the movie.
how that worked.
They
To be
wanted to
honest,
make Liv
I really
Tyler
don't
a bigger
mind.
part of the
It's a bit of
film.
a sausage
They
fest
didn't
in
have
here
to,
anyway,
but
and
because
hell,
she's
even
Liv
the woman
Tyler,
who
and
does
back
join
then
the
Liv
fight has
Tyler
to
was a bigger
pretend she
deal.
has a sausage.
But
So
she's
having
still
her
a
do
great
more stuff,
actress.
I
I
think
still
was a
think
welcome
she's.
addition.
But they tried to make her too much part of the
this
film.
really weird nonsense.
Arwen is dying. The light of the even star is failing. As Sauron's power grows, her strength wanes.
How the hell did that happen? We get something about the light of brouhaha that's now somehow tied to Sauron growing because I have no clue. It was made up for the movie, I guess, as a means to give Aragorn something else to fight for, or maybe keep her more out of the way so that their being reunited would mean more? I'm not sure what the intention was, but brother, does it make no sense. What is that light thing she gave up? If it makes her mortal, then how come none of the other mortal people in Middle-earth are dying?
I can get
in fact,
behind
if
that.
it does make her mortal, then how come they were talking about how much it's gonna suck when she stays immortal in that other scene? In fact, hell, they made immortality look like such a bitch, she'd probably be welcoming death by this point. In most cases like this,
Well,
you
they
could
can't
say
will
that it's
themselves to
explained
die.
in the
They've
book,
talked
but
about that.
Well,
this
yeah,
was a new
that's what she
scene,
did.
and talked in very little detail about it. The more I think about it, maybe it would have been cooler if they wrote it that she went to fight with the rest of the army. She was originally filmed in the Helm's Deep battle until they edited her out. Wouldn't it be nice to give her a little bit more battle damage than a branch from a tree? Ooh, look at that scar. It shows she's tough and pushes on after battling prickly leaves. I don't know. If you're gonna expand the character, at least do it in a way that makes sense. Until then, look
I get
pretty,
behind that
cry,
because if
and
there were no
don't
elves
get
at Helm's
any
Deep, so if they're gonna send a whole garrison, I mean, they already made her, you know, get in a big chasing with ring wraiths. So
Yeah, I just
Number 3.
That decision that it's weird because
Sam and
it doesn't
Frodo's
make sense.
gayness.
Uh.
Okay, now let me make one thing perfectly clear before anyone has a heart attack. If Sam and Frodo were actually gay in the story, I wouldn't care. Hell, it'd be cool. Maybe they'd be the first gay characters in fantasy. Openly gay, anyway. The bottom line is that the intention was not to show the power of love. It was meant to show the power of friendship. Having a friendship and being in love are two different things.
Yes, they are.
There's the love you share for a person you have an attraction for and want to live the rest of your life with, but there's also the love for a determined person who will always have your back and be by your side. And the reason that bugs me is that this relationship, while I do believe unintentionally makes them look more romantic than friendly, is that it's obvious Tolkien wanted to show the strength of friendship, for reasons of nobility and caring rather than lust or romance. Lust and romance is fine, and we see it everywhere in big epic stories, but that's not what this is about. This is about two people who care for each other as the closest of companions. And truth be told, there's only a few popular stories I can think of that really dive into that. You don't often see two people of the same gender who give up their life for the other just for the reason of friendship. If it's opposite genders, fuck it, almost always hook up by the end of the story. So that's why I think it's more important that a friendship element was played up more than a romantic one. And again, I don't think it was intentional, but it's still hard to ignore that it comes off that way. And so much of that comes from just how friggin' lame these lines are. Let's just look at some of these scenes again.
Frodo was really courageous, wasn't he, Dad? Yes, my boy. The most famousest of hobbits. And that's saying a lot.
You've left out one of the chief characters. Samwise the Brave. I want to hear more about Sam.
Frodo wouldn't have got far without Sam. Now, Mr. Frodo, you shouldn't make fun. I was being serious. So was I.
I'm just waiting for Gollum to roll his eyes and say,
"Oh Christ, just propose already!"
And even the friendship/romance doesn't always make sense. Frodo sends Sam away because he thinks he ate the last of the Lambus bread. Fair enough, he's possessed by the rings and being manipulated by Gollum, but Sam actually starts to oblige until he makes this little discovery. What exactly is he supposed to realize there? So I didn't eat it! Wouldn't his return have been a lot more powerful if they didn't show this scene? If Sam just said, fuck it, he's my friend, I'm gonna go and fight for him anyway.
Yeah, that would have
been a lot more noble. But no, he had to realize that he didn't eat the bread that he realized already he didn't eat. Huh?
I don't think he had a real.
I don't think it was
that was the
intentional,
realization
but
he was
the more
having in that
cheesy
scene.
these
But
scenes
okay.
are played out, the
But I
more
think,
you can't help
the
but think of
realization
a
that
corny
they wanted to
romantic
portray
novel.
it was
So you
Gollum
can't
who
act
threw it away.
surprised at the comparison.
You know, he doesn't know
and
what
I think we
happened
all
to the
know
bread.
there's plenty of those.
Oh.
Granted, at the end,
Oh,
the
the
relationship
fanfics.
does work.
Jesus.
Sam gets married, Frodo goes on his own path, and they do share a connection you legitimately believe in. Just maybe you believe in it a little more than what was intended.
I can't carry it for you. But I can carry you.
Beautiful. Yes.
Number 2. Sarah... who? There is no doubt that the biggest fuck you to a character came when Saruman, the only human villain you have throughout any of these movies, was completely left out of Return of the King. What the hell? He doesn't even make an appearance, a wave goodbye, or anything. He just doesn't show up. This is the guy that was the center of the poster in the last film. Your major villain second to only that giant eye thingy. And he doesn't even get a little wave goodbye? What a ripoff. Now, in one sense, you could make the argument that Sauron is really the villain, so you don't need to spend a ton of time with Saruman anyway. But there's two big problems with this. One, the excuse that they give is not to go after him. That he's too harmless now to do any real damage. Fucking what?
Well, let's just have his head and be done with it.
No. He has no power anymore.
The filth of Saruman is washing away.
Yeah, he's learned his lesson. I mean, come on. What are the chances of an ancient evil that we don't kill all the way possibly coming back and biting us in the eye? That doesn't count. He's an eye. And second, they had a perfectly good scene of him shot and
Why did they not leave that in?
If you go to the extended edition, it's right there, right at the very beginning. It ties up all loose ends. The connection between him and Grimer, a final send-off between him and Gandalf, and yes, they don't just ignore the big evil genius who could obviously cause trouble later. He's killed off. And in a pretty cool way, I might add.
This was actually, Christopher Lee didn't really like this at first, but Peter Jackson did it as like a tribute to his career as
normally
like
I would
this
understand
iconic villain.
Yeah, as Dracula, because I still think he is probably the best Dracula.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Nobody's gonna be bored by the first few minutes.
Because
really?
they did change
Do you think anyone was
his
gonna
ending
watch
from
this
how
and be
it
like,
was in the
oh,
books.
this first 2 minutes isn't grabbing me. I'm sure the next 3 hours will be more eventful. God, if it's a time issue, why didn't you shorten one of the other cajillion endings that you had? That's where people started to bitch and moan. They didn't need to know every single detail that went on after the war was over. But we did need to know what happened to one of your biggest villains in the entire film series. Of course, we always want to see the bad guy get the short end of the stick in the end. But next time, try letting us actually see it. Because that short end of the stick can impale pretty nicely.
Hey Gandalf, do you still have that 2-for-1 coupon that could get you an extra life at the pearly gates? Sorry, I already used it. No crud.
And the number one dumbest Lord of the Rings moment is... those eagles that could have stopped everything. Everyone in the world brings it up.
Caleb says this all the time.
Why don't these creatures of awesomeness just fly over Mount Doom and drop the ring off themselves? It's obvious that if they wanted to win this war quickly and more logically, they would have used these damn things from the beginning. And every excuse that people throw out in terms of the movie never holds water. Oh, well, they're eagle gods who don't want to get involved in our world affairs. Well, that doesn't stop them from interfering 1, 2, and now 3 times in all of this. Well, they wouldn't be able to get very far. The evils of Mordor are just too great. Oh, I don't know, they made it to the gate. They seem to be fighting off those ring wraith things pretty good. And even if they didn't, you could have Gandalf nightlight reflect them off like he did before. It doesn't seem like Mordor has very many of those evil flying things. Well, much like Gandalf, they would have been tempted to use it themselves and become evil in the process. For what, a 2-hour flight? If Frodo can resist for days on end, I think all the wise spirit gods can hold out as well. And shit, how the hell are they gonna put that ring on their claw anyway? Well, they stick out too much. A sneak attack makes much more sense in the grand scheme of things. Really? Because how many times do Sam and Frodo get spotted, captured, and injured? For every day it takes them to walk on foot, thousands of lives are probably being lost. Let's face it, people, it's only by pure fucking luck that this plan worked at all. Even Gandalf, several times in the movie, acknowledges this was probably the dumbest strategy they've ever come up with.
I've sent him to his death. Oh, why the hell did I do this? I should have used the eagles.
I think all of us know how the ending of this film really should have gone down. Let's go back to that scenario we demonstrated before.
I have a token. I was
Legolas.
The dwarves say Merry Christmas, motherfucker.
Whiskey. Even the series How It Should Have
Yes,
Ended
they
gave
did
their
that
take
too.
on this.
Well, that was incredibly easy.
Yes, it was.
Can you imagine what it would be like if we had walked the entire way? Don't be silly.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? That's ridiculous. You can make up whatever excuse you want. You can say that some way or another this was the right thing to do. But for me, this is by far the dumbest Lord of the Rings moment. Now let's count down the most awesome Lord of the Rings moments. Oh wait, we can't, because there's too fucking many! Despite these problems, and I'm sure even more that exist, it doesn't change the fact that Lord of the Rings is one of the best film trilogies of all time. It gave so much, it changed so much, and as much as we like to poke fun of it, there's still just too much to like about it. As for me, I'm off to partake in the ancient Middle-earth art of dwarf tipping. I'm the nostalgia critic guy, remember? So you don't have to.
Salted pork.
Oh man, yeah, he and Caleb would get along because Caleb always brings that thing up about the Eagles.
The friggin' Eagles. Yeah. that's pretty much the be all end all Mr. Fix-It of the whole thing. Man.
It's interesting. I guess in the films they did lose some, because it was my understanding in the books that the Eagles were only able to show up. Basically, they after the ring was basically in, because once the ring went in, it broke the power of all of Sauron's minions. So my understanding from the book is the Eagles never would have been able to take the Fell Beasts until after their power was broken. Because Sauron supplied a lot of like infernal power to special units of his.
Okay,
and
like
so
the
really
ring wraiths
the Eagles sort of came in as backup after that power was broken to finish off the Fell Beasts because they were problematic, and then go get Sam and Frodo. They couldn't actually get any farther into the territory.
All right, I can understand that. They wouldn't have been able to fly in because of the power that the Fell Beasts held. Okay.
And I mean, there were some special circumstances, because I mean, Eowyn was able to cut the head off one, but she was. I think that was sort of a Deus Ex Machina thing to kind of. You know.
Also getting rid of the pretty much the lead wraith. I mean,
well, that is what I was going to talk about. Is the Tom Bombadil thing is important with that, because Merry helped her kill the Witch King. But the only way that was possible is the hobbits got mixed up with these spirits called Barrow Wights. And they're rescued by Tom Bombadil. But in the treasure hoard, they found some ancient swords that were made in Middle-earth world where men could still forge magic into weapons. And so the hobbits, so Frodo got Sting, but the other hobbits actually took daggers from this that were actually magic daggers from ancient times. And that's what broke the barrier on the Witch King. So Eowyn was actually able to kill him. So Eowyn actually wouldn't have stood a chance unless Merry had been there with the enchanted dagger to break the barrier on it.
And Merry injured the Witch King, and it did the same thing. What happened? He stabbed him with and the blade pretty much exploded.
But once the barrier was down, he was basically vulnerable to traditional weaponry.
Yeah. I was gonna say, you know what my favorite badass moment of the Lord of the Rings movies is? The charge of the Rohirrim.
Oh yeah.
That to me, just the horsemen on the hill, and it's just like.
Are you talking about in the Two Towers when they come back to Helm's Deep, or are you talking about in Return of the King where they all line up?
Actually, it could be both, because the charge into Helm's Deep.
Because that one's good, but I like the one where Theoden is riding at the head of him.
Well, that's
in
what
Return
I mean.
of the
The
King,
Minas Tirith is my favorite.
Yeah.
That you could include both of them because they both are really big turning points of the battle.
Yeah.
But the one at Minas Tirith was more.
Because the one at Helm's Deep was good, but it just wasn't the same. Because they're being led by Gandalf, and it's really cool. But when Theoden is back with his own people, and he's riding down the line and hitting the spears with his sword.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ride for glory. Yeah, and I was going to say, because for me it was the way it was filmed, the way the music just swelled in that moment.
I mean,
the acting,
when
everything
I
was so perfect.
when I saw it in the theaters, I got a little misty eyed.
I was very misty-eyed.
Yep.
I was like, this is one of the more perfect
Yeah.
scenes I've ever seen filmed ever. And plus that music as well, the charge of the Rohirrim. And when they start charging and that violin's very lightly playing, and then it keeps building and building, and right when they get to the line, the horns come in and you're just like, yeah! And they just start mowing over everybody. It's just like, all right! That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was.
Oh man!
I mean, tremendously good trilogy. I mean, because some of his points, I totally
agree
understand.
with.
And honestly, like I'm a fanatic of the literature, so there's lots of stuff that
There's lots of stuff the film's left out that you're still.
But at the same time, it's an adaptation. I mean, it's like the books are. I mean, they're long. A lot of the stuff is really hard to get through for people. And honestly, the movies just would have been. I mean, the movies would have been like 12 hours long if they had done everything.
If you ask me, here's what they should have done. In some regards. I think they should have filmed. This is an unrealistic take for me, but for people who are mad that they deviate too much from the book and they do changes and everything, I think what they should do for at least one adaptation of something like this is they need to film out the entire book and then slice it down to where it can be released theatrically. And then whenever the DVD comes out and people want to see the full
that could be cool.
version,
give
boom.
it. Of course, it'll take time. So give it another like 35, 40 years, and then film it. And have like Fellowship Part 1 and 2, Towers 1 and 2, Return 1 and 2. And
yeah. As a matter of fact, Caleb was talking about that. He's like, oh, they missed a big opportunity to make more money there because people would still come and watch it. It's just have it end on a logical closure point. And I understand that.
Sure.
If they could split The Hobbit into 3 friggin' films, when truth is all they would really need was either 1.5 or 2, but yet they decided to stretch it out to 3 because they're greedy.
Which I mean, that was sort of awkward. The thing with it too is The Hobbit. There's not a lot of character development. Really, the only other dwarf other than Thorin that really gets any kind of character development is Balin. And really, all that is, it just says that he was overly fond of Bilbo more than the others.
And Balin he ties into the Lord of the Rings as well because he's Gimli's uncle.
Well, that's Gloin.
Oh, Gloin. Yeah. I thought. I thought it was Balin's tomb.
Wait, that's his. I believe they're cousins, maybe.
Okay.
Because maybe no. Because Gloin is his dad, and then he does say in the movie my cousin.
He said my. Oh, my
I thought he said his
Balin.
cousin.
My cousin Balin. They probably are. They probably are cousins. It's
weird though because Balin looks older than Gloin in The Hobbit. I can't remember.
It's because of the white hair.
Yeah.
You see, we could dissect this all day.
Of course, that's the thing though. Is like with the names go, like he could have had a son and also named him Balin. So
yeah, probably. So
I can't remember.
Yeah, so
I need to go back and reread them now.
Oh boy,
gotta go, guys.
We've watched this. We've gone on long enough with our ranting and our
I could literally talk all night about the Lord of the Rings. It's
we know.
Stupid.
We know. So what I'd like to say is just thank you all for tuning in. Thank you guys for suggesting this. What did you all think? Did you think that these are justified with their with the top 11 list? I mean, do you think that they're pretty dumb? Some of them are. I can agree. Doug pointed out some pretty good points.
No, he has some good points. I just wish his transitions would be a little bit more.
I think he wanted to sink in the fact that it's drawn out.
Yeah.
Which is some parts of the movie are drawn out like that. I think he wanted to point that out as well, and I think that's kind of a parody of it. But anyway, guys, we thank you all for tuning in. Leave a comment down below if you like the video. Also, leave a like if you like the video. Let us know if there's anything else you want us to watch. Hit that subscribe button if you wish to see more. And we'll see you later, Internet. Peace out.